Okay. My name is Manuel, and with my partners Angelina and Bobby, we are going to talk about Frequency Winery. And the survey experience, we realized that this winery offers is completely different as the rest of the wineries in the area, because it's not only about wines, it's also about the music and the experience with this. So you can not only taste some wine, buy some bottles of wine, it's also that you will be able to record your music, film some music videos, and also produce your music. So we think it's a complete difference. And in here, we realize that the moments of truth are like the research. Since the first time you realize that this winery exists, you go to the website, and everything, all the atmosphere involves and talks about music. And then when you came in and you see all the design, all the architecture that involves the place, you feel like in a studio that you're talking about music all the time. After that, the taste, of course, is a winery. You need to taste the wine, right? So the moments through that you will realize the different kind of wines. You will learn more about the winery and the reasons why they these experiences. And then we think that the climax of everything is the studio, where you will be able to record, as I said, all the music you want. I think, yeah, that's the moments of truth. And the customer expectations, the pre-experience. Again, the research about this, you go to the website, the customer expect that it's easy to go, easy to find the information they want, easy to make an appointment, or the directions, the address of the place. After that, the first steps is like you go and the customer expect that feel the music, or at least feel and see all the music or thematic, even since the first steps. And the welcome, of course, that the person in there helps you with everything. Be polite, be friendly, and give you all the directions that you need. Then what they expect that the tastings will be like good wines. They know they will be able to know more about the wineries and the history of this. And last, and the most important, we think, is the studio expectations, that have a quality, that they have all the instruments they need, all the employees help with the record, the producement of music, the filmation of this. So yeah, they have all the abilities to get good. So yeah, I think that's the customer expectations.
All right. Thank you, Manuel, for the first part. And I will now talk to you guys about some consumer expectations versus perceptions while visiting Frequency Winery. Now, unfortunately, because of the pandemic, we weren't actually able to go there in person. However, we all have visited wineries in the past. So we're going to use those past experiences as well as online reviews regarding Frequency in order to analyze and compare people's expectations versus the real experiences that people have had at Frequency. So before doing this, our group actually brainstormed what some of our expectations would be. We took into account that what we've heard about Frequency as well as what we saw on their website. So doing so, what we determined was to expect a very cool, unique kind of hipster vibe to it. We thought this because we saw they have a recording studio and cool, unique things like that. Other things that we thought to expect were cool wine bottles to match the unique experience and the kind of the vibe of the place, as well as a friendly staff and a very modern or hipster kind of setup. So given what we expected, this actually kind of matched the perceptions on TripAdvisor reviews almost perfectly. One person described it as a cute and cozy vibe, and others praised it for its unique nature and just kind of the overall experience they had there. It's a kind of a different experience. The winery is only one building, which is very different compared to other ones. So given that, there is still a couple issues, which I will now discuss. So the main gap that we identified was Frequency's website. The primary flaws with it were its difficulty to navigate and its serious lack of information. If I was somebody that was wanting to visit Frequency, I would find it very confusing, and it would probably deter me a bit from wanting to go there, to be honest. And so we also discussed gaps that our group members have experienced at other wineries in the past. And the primary one that we determined was a lack of signage or just overall clarity on where to go upon arrival. It could be very confusing if you haven't been to that winery before and they have multiple buildings and stuff like that. So I will now pass this off to Angelina to discuss these gaps in further detail. Thank you.
Thanks, Bobby. So next I'll be talking about identifying the consumer gaps. For all businesses, it is extremely vital to listen to customer feedback and reflect on your business. By identifying the consumer gap, we can see the difference between customer expectations and customer perceptions. After reviewing Frequency Winery's complete experience, we discovered consumer gaps in the overall service of the winery that we will discuss below. Identification of consumer gap number 1. Our first consumer gap that we found at Frequency Winery was the website is difficult to navigate and very hard to find information. This relates to the first part of our service script under research. Typically, this is the first point of contact for customers and arguably the most important. A business's website should be easy to navigate and provide adequate information in an organized manner. Frequency Winery's website is a bit harder to navigate and a bit too busy. Another issue with the website is there is not an about page. An about page would do this winery lots of justice, as it is one of the most unique wineries in all of Canada, as they use music, as spoken to previously. Our second consumer gap is that we discuss in our service script is the entrance or the building of the winery. Unfortunately, we came to an agreement that although once inside, the winery had a beautiful, unique, and eccentric feel, we were all confused as to how to navigate to the entrance upon finding parking. We had a problem with one of our teammates who couldn't find the actual tasting room, and there was nobody around to help, which was a big problem, as this is something that the business should have somebody to greet and to welcome and show everybody around. Our consumer gap number 3 was communication. As our last consumer gap for Frequency Winery is to do with communication. One of our teammates had reached out to the winery via email to ask questions about booking a tasting. The email was never answered, even after a week of being sent. This looks very awful from a customer's view. And if we hadn't found out the information from a secondary source, they would have lost us as customers and possibly are losing customers currently because of the lack of service. Communication with a company ensures trust between its customers and business as relationships with its consumers. This will fit in the 4th consumer provider gap, marketing and sales communication. Lastly, I will speak on our recommendations to the winery to fix these consumer gaps. To fix consumer gap number 1, we recommend that the winery applies less to their website and makes it in a better organized area. Applying the most valuable information is the first thing that the customers will see will make the experience more enjoyable. Another recommendation when reviewing the website is to have an about page so we are able to learn a bit more about the winery and what makes it unique from others. This would be a huge, as spoken to before, because frequency is such a unique experience. A recommendation for a consumer gap number 2 is it is very simple to add the proper signage around a parking lot. It will help visitors find their way around and not get frustrated upon arrival. Putting up signs that read tasting room this way, or someone will help you soon, all of these signs would really make a difference for the overall experience. As for consumer gap number 3, the last and arguably the most important recommendation we can make for the winery would be hiring someone to overlook overall communication for the company. Tasks for this person would be to make sure emails are regularly read and answered, and phone calls as well. Overall, with poor communication, customers will be lost, and the business from the customer's point of view will not be a good image. And that is all. Thank you so much.